Today's program, we started a new block. We've got wave loading. We go 7-5-3 and then another set of 7-5-3. And what you do for your first set of waves, you go up in weight. So 7's lightest, then 5's heavier, then 3. And then when you come back for your second set of waves, whatever you did for 5, now you're gonna do that for 7. And you're gonna go up on your 5 and up on your 3 as well. The main series today or exercise we've got is a barbell RDL, and not the best night of sleep that I've ever had. Got up right around 3, mine kind of just snapped open, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot here, see if we got like a half hour to get back to sleep. Couldn't get back to sleep, so I just got up, started getting after it, editing some content, doing some good thinking. So it was a good morning. A lot of caffeine in my system. Contemplated getting a espresso to, a little afternoon pick-me-up. But I was like, no, I've probably had like 2 French presses. Caffeine tolerance is way too high, but everything comes in waves. Everything comes in waves. Now I want you to watch this kettlebell swing because I'm not bringing it up here. I'm not bringing it really high. When the hip extends, the power ends. So I'm working violent speed right now, right? So I'm just getting that nervous system prepped for when I go into the barbell RDL. It's a hinge movement, so there's not much bend in my legs. And I'm just getting that in my knees, pardon me, and I'm just getting that nice hinge position. I'm just working on coming up, and I'm going back down fast too. That's the other thing, like if you wanna start picking up that kettlebell swing pace, you can accelerate your downward movement as well, and like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's gonna, just like you throw a ball harder at a wall, it's gonna come back even harder. Same thing on your kettlebell swing. Peep this. Core's right, back's right. I even feel a little bit like a espresso that I was talking about earlier. I feel like I just got it from that kettlebell swing. Forgot to mention that we've got a 3-second hold in the bottom of this position. Binging Dan Kennedy and Gary Vee right now. Just an amazing pocket to be in. And Gary Vee has these, where he's doing some sort of consultation with people, and he's just like, it's all organic views, optimized for organic views. Figure that out because that's the algorithm saying that it's validating that content and showing it to more people. You take that video and then you could turn that into an ad if you're a brick and mortar business like us, and you do an ad on 5-6 mile radius, put some spend behind it, and every time his team, who has thousands of, like 1,000 media buyers on his team, says every time the organic stuff has crushed in tests. It's the reason that I'm doing all these videos and stuff right now, right? So on the short form, like scripting, trying to figure this stuff out and going and optimizing for views, which is shout out cut 30. So if you start to like grease that muscle and figure that stuff out, now you know like how media is moving on the web, and you can leverage that for your brand or your business and getting your message out there. All right, the other content, Dan Kennedy. If you're a marketer and you don't know about Dan Kennedy, you better get on that. He's got a whole series of the No BS guide, and he's a direct response copywriter and marketer. And is like one book that I started with is like the No BS guide to direct marketing for non-direct marketers. There's an offer, you have to act now, and you make it such a great offer that they would feel dumb saying no to. All the stuff Hormozi's doing and stuff, he's not making that up. Like that's all coming from Dan Kennedy and a bunch of other different offshoots of those guys. There's a whole world of direct response copywriting. Ogilvy, one of the greatest ad men of all time, George Lois was a beast too, but Ogilvy says like the direct response guys are the guys only worth their shit because they're measuring ROI on everything. Like you have to, $1 in is accounted for and tracked everywhere. Anyways, so I finished that book with the team. We did a little curriculum. We've got a ton of stuff that we're now thinking about and implementing. And I told the staff the other day in the meeting, I'm like, yo, I don't want to read another curriculum book as much as I love reading, but we need to like pause and just take relentless action on this stuff right now because there's so much to do. One idea is going to take 60 to 90 days to implement and like actually have it ingrained in the system. But I would rather like do something with the stuff rather than just continue kind of reading books, because action is the stuff that is actually going to move the business in my life in the direction that I want to do, right? What else is going on in life and in the business? Lily's starting to stand now and she's grooving around. There was even a moment where I was on a call and she was right by my desk and she like hovered for a second and then she fell. So she's like right on the verge of standing, which is crazy, and then walking after that. 10 months today. She's 10 months today. In the business, we had a really good last 7 days of the 6-week program. Bella closed 9. Looking at her appointments, so we actually had on the top of funnel, we had a lot more appointments actually booked and showing. And then Bella closed like 90% of the leads with a couple open. So she's doing a great job. And then the other thing that we have been really working on is getting our show rate up, because people in LA are just flaking on these appointments. And Tiffany, who's doing all like the setting on the CRM side and confirming appointments, had this amazing line when we were trying to fix this. And she's like, what I've been doing now is I've been telling these folks like, hey, we have a wait list for this program. If you can't make it, you have to let me know so I can get the next person in on the wait list. Just that simple thing, one, raised our status in the prospect's mind. Two, it made it a bit more desirable, because it's like, oh, a lot of other people are trying to do this, so there's a social proof element to it as well. And then three, it made them more inclined to text us if they weren't on their way for their appointment and to reschedule. And then they're like, oh shoot, now I'm back on the wait list now. We're getting into the second month of the payroll cuts and the results from the payroll cuts. So we're gonna look back now and, fingers crossed, because January was good, December was good. I'm hoping January is good as well, because those hard decisions that we made, if you've been following the vlog in the early days, are now starting to pay dividends, but you don't know until you measure it and you check the math. All right, so we've got our second wave here. I'm going to 70 kilos for a set of 7 with a 3-second hold in the bottom. Also just got a LinkedIn message from a buddy at SC, Gareth. Shout out Gareth if you ever see this. He's like, yo, I'm moving back to LA from San Francisco, and I'm starting working with this company, Bridge Athletic. He kind of pitched me all on it. Let's talk about how he wants to get familiar with it, and like, what do you think? Like, talking about it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, we've been using Bridge Athletic for like 3 years. It's been great. And actually, I talked with Gareth right before when I got fired from my job at Patreon in San Francisco about starting Allegiate. And I was like looking for tech sales jobs. And I think the quote, he was like, don't get a tech sales job. Like, go do something impactful and meaningful. And here we are, baby. Universe coming back full circle. In another very cool full circle universe moment, on my Instagram, I posted this correspondence between me cold emailing a professor at SC, basically pitching myself, actually 2 professors at SC, pitching myself to be a guest speaker in their business class. And over like the last 3 weeks, I've been following up, and then I finally got one to bite. And it's something along the lines like, hey, $2 million per year in annual recurring revenue founder from SC, USC football. Yeah, I could talk a lot about small business, all the things that your students might be interested in, just tales from the trenches. And he responds back like, hey, I don't teach small business, and the founders that I've had give lectures are 400 million plus businesses. And I was like, okay, I'll check back in a decade when I'm at 400 million, or we're at 400 million. A screenshot I put on my Instagram, I blocked out the names and stuff so you couldn't tell. People were pretty fired up about it, but here's where it comes back with the universe. Is one of my friends who's a professor at USC, who I met through Billy Buffington, and because Billy's actually the godfather of this professor's son, reached out to me and said like, he was mad about the angle and the cockiness of this professor, when he knows that I have like some really unique stories and things that I could tell just based off watching my social media content. So he's like, I will have you give a lecture at my communications department in the business school communications class in the fall. So there we have it, right? A no and a good story. You put it out there on the web, it gets some traction, it probably inspires other people to shoot their shot, and then lo and behold, we end up getting booked for a speaking engagement as a guest lecturer at USC. There's back doors, man. Sometimes they don't let you in the front door. Make some noise, go in the back door or the side door. And if that one doesn't work, do the same thing. And then eventually, you're probably gonna find like, oh dude, I got invited upstairs to the VIP lounge, man. Like, I don't even need to get in here anymore. It's like secrets to life like that. Also watching Gary V's content, he does long form stuff, web show, then he'll cut that good moments up into short form things, which I'm trying to figure out too, because then I can repurpose these things, but in short form. And everybody's trying to figure that out. Like, how do you repurpose your long form into short? Well, like, it's not as easy as it sounds, or I just haven't figured it out yet. Because when I'm kind of flying off the cuff like this, it works in like a long form YouTube, but then when you go to like shorten it up and make it really snappy, it's like hard to do in the edit. And I tried Opus Clip, which is an AI software that can take your video and theoretically like rip it into small bits. And they caveat it by saying like, yo, this isn't really great for vlogs. This is good for other things. So maybe that's on me. But watching Gary's stuff, it's like, okay, if I could clip, you know, these YouTube vlogs are like 15 minutes sometimes. If I could clip 2 to 3 out of those and I could script two other videos, that's 5 video posts in a week. Like that's gonna start getting me the volume and the consistency. I'm just leveraging the content that I'm already doing, which I'm a big fan of, but I don't wanna do it at the expense of like not good stuff. Like if I just clip stuff and it's me rambling and it doesn't hit, which is like what I've done on a couple of my other posts, but instead of strategizing about it, I'm just taking action and like hacking my way through this to figure this thing out. I'm frustrated that it's not growing at the pace I wanna do it, but I'm just doing it in the wide open and like figuring this stuff out as we go. And you know what? Like I hope in 2 years from now, when we look back at these videos, it's like, oh dude, here he is talking about it. Like here's receipts of him trying to figure this thing out. For all my homies out there that own gyms or in fitness, I know you guys, a couple of you guys are out there, so shout out, thanks for watching. I had 2 interesting calls this week. One with the ad agency that we use, and they focus on gyms, and their offering used to be 150 members of the 150 6-week program sales in 6 months, or we'll work for free until you do. 12 months later, we're still working on it. They went away from that offering because and now they're offering like a coaching consultation sort of service instead of that, because the type of client that they were getting and was attracted to that offer was just so much friction for the guys actually fulfilling it, and they were like way worse customers because they were only focused on the numbers. They had all the back end of their system and sales and fulfillment side was just broken. And like Hormozi talks about this piece where if you have a shitty business, you start marketing it, you're just marketing a shitty business. The guy I was talking to, I was asking him about it, like, how's it going? He says he's enjoying it way more because he's actually talking to people that are like receptive to the help, and he's not like beholden by these guarantees that he used to be. He also talked about a handful of boutiques like F45s and Orange Theories are taking these calls, and they're like on their like last lifeline. Like these businesses that he's talking to are struggling. And for him, it's kind of like, well, you've got a lot of people that are these franchisee owners that are like business people, but they don't understand fitness and like community or training and like training other people to, you know, do the sales and, you know, retention things and like all the other stuff that goes into a gym. It's not just top of funnel stuff that on retention has a negative impact if you're not paying attention. Like if you don't, the best thing about Allegiant is like we have such a great program and it's the long haul, it's a long game all day. So like I know from a retention standpoint that it's going to be a lot higher, and keeping our customers is way freaking easier, and providing great service for them is way freaking easier than finding new leads all the time. And then the second call I had was with the director, the North American director of a new fitness concept that's like landing and expanding from Australia, and they're out here. He was now consulting for somebody else in the area of one of our other gyms, and was kind of like talking about that. I was like talking about our experience. I was like, how do I want to approach this phone call? But anyways, I get on the call with him. And it's like, why you always take the call? Great dude, awesome conversation. He's transitioning out of that other concept, doing his own consulting business. Gave me some sort of like, you know, good intel on that, where it's like he was really proud of the work that they were doing, but it wasn't quite at the pace that they thought they were going to do it. It was a really cool, cathartic conversation talking to somebody that's, you know, trying to open more locations and things like that, doing it on sort of a franchise model and kind of running point for that, and just sort of hearing like, you know, the growth hasn't matched the projections, which I'm sure 99% of business stories are that way, right? Where it's like, oh, we had all these projections and we didn't quite meet it, and so now we have to have some hard conversations, right? The Bill Gateses of the world that just went freaking 0 to, you know, billionaire status in terms of growth and timing and all that stuff is just a very finite amount that keeps us hanging on to the story. So, okay, next set.